Welcome to another episode of the Jordan and Matt Show. I'm Jordan.
Matt,
We had another big week of high school football. We had games on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Action packed from small schools all the way up to big schools. So, very, very good weekend. But, first off, away from football, Matt, how was your weekend?
good weekend. I like how the weekends are shaping up nicely because I get all my phone calls done Saturday, and then this Saturday I watched Folsom's game after I've done my phone calls. So that was kind of cool. I watched on NFHS, and then just the rest of the weekend I kind of relax, and Monday I write all my articles. So I'm liking how that's going right now.
All right, I like it. And yeah, NFHS has been a lifesaver, especially now with a baby in the house and knowing
Uh,
that I can't be at every game, but I can just have it up on my computer. And not only that, I don't even have to watch it live sometimes. I can watch it an hour after it happened if,
uh,
it doesn't work because Matt, as you know, as a father, when the baby decides she's hungry, that's when you're feeding her. You don't really get to bargain on that. So
yeah.
but hey, we had a big week of football. Matt, I'll start with you. Where were you on Friday night, and what did you see from your game?
Friday night I got my first taste of the West Park campus, which is all that I was told it was. Very beautiful campus. Um, and football field, football facility. They played a very good team, Casserole team, who is off to a 2-0 start after beating Placer, and they beat West Park 35-14. I mean, they're a solid team. I mean, they control the ball. There's most importantly, they control the ball. I mean, West Park, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the time of possession was, but they had to have it 3-1. I mean, they wore down West Park's defense. West Park's defense, I thought played pretty well because all things considered, it was a 21-14 game late in the third quarter. West Park scored a second touchdown on a pass from Jaron Jackson to and Mason Johnson, I think. I forget his name. Gosh dang it. Mason Johnson. Okay, I suppose. Anyway, so and at that point it's 21-14. I'm thinking, man, West Park is. I mean, it didn't seem that close because Casserole was just dominating the time of possession, and West Park's defense was getting tired. I'm like, hey, they're only one touchdown away from winning this thing. They have a quarter to go, but Casserole scored two more touchdowns in the fourth quarter, and that was it. So they won 35-14, made it bigger than maybe it was, but maybe they didn't because they dominated the game. Um, and like I said, West Park had two long touchdown passes to Mason Johnson from Jaron Jackson. That was all their scoring. And Casserole just did what they wanted to on offense. So, it was a good game, but, Casserole is a good team, and West Park's going back to the drawing board after that one. Second, I was not at this game, but Bill Poindexter was. Oak Ridge, they faced Grant, defending D3 state champions, and that game was a lot closer than I predicted. I thought Oak Ridge would roll to a win, and I don't know. I wasn't there. I mean, I don't know if Oak Ridge didn't play well or if Grant is just better than I thought, but they couldn't hang with Oak Ridge in the SFL when they're in the same league. But 2 years later, they played a close game. So I don't know. Anyway, Grant was up 12-0 at halftime, and to their detriment, they couldn't make an extra point, and that really hurt them in the end because, well, I don't know. I don't know if they would. Shoot, I don't know if they went for the extra points or if they didn't. I think they went for 2 points actually. Now that I think about it, but anyway, they couldn't make them. Oak Ridge scored all 21 of their points in the third quarter. They had a touchdown to a pass to Gavin Malloy from Joaquin Graves Mercado, and then Jason Womack, a running back, threw an option touchdown pass to Jaden Anderson that put the Trojans up 13-12, and then Graves Mercado again hit Caleb Edwards, a tight end, for a touchdown to make it 19-12. And then Oak Ridge got a safety in the late in the third quarter. So all 21 of their points came in the third quarter. And Grant scored one last touchdown late in the game to make it 21-18, but that was as close as you could get. So hey, kudos to Grant for playing them closer than I thought, but Oak Ridge pulled out a win and are now 2-0. And then thirdly, Wood Creek. Now this was a cool. I wasn't at this game. What Jim was, right? Yeah,
Yeah, I was.
yeah. But I called Brad Hunkins, Wood Creek's coach, accidentally because I forgot Jim was at the game, so I just called him and talked to him about the game, and he told me a cool story. Um, he said we're trying to create an identity for our team, and I just said, it takes a while to do that. What does it mean to play Wood Creek football? Who are the Wood Creek Timberwolves? That type of thing. And during the week, or early in the week, Brad's wife works at the Roseville district office, and someone said, "Oh, she's wearing a polo, Wood Creek football polo with a W on the outside of it." And one of her colleagues said, "Hey, what's the W stand for, Whitney?" And she told that to Hunkins, and Brad got upset. He was like, that pissed me off that someone that works in our own district didn't know our W. So he told the team that. He told the team the story. He goes, "Hey, let's take the W. Let's make the W our W, not Whitney's W. Everyone's gonna know after this Friday that W is Wood Creek W." And I thought it was a pretty cool story, and they did. They hammered Whitney 25-0, and even Brad said he was impressed with the defense of the shutout. And he goes, I expected us to get a shutout somewhere along the line, but against a tough SFL team like Whitney, he wasn't expecting it maybe to be against them. But they came to play and they took the W, and they made it. It was Hunkins said it was a statement game. He goes, he told the team after the game, you guys definitely made a statement. In that one, so good performance by Wood Creek there, and hopefully they'll continue to play well.
Yeah, definitely. And I want to take a moment to formally apologize to Wood Creek fans. I was high on Wood Creek this year, but I just figured, the SFL is the SFL. And in my opinion, I'm going to take an SFL team over a non-SFL team if it's two Sacramento schools meeting up. But hey, Wood Creek made me eat my words on it. I actually saw someone comment on one of our predictions that we gave Whitney a little too much credit. So Wood Creek fans, consider this my formal apology. I will not make that mistake again. You guys are legit, which I knew, but I didn't realize how legit until this Friday night. So congrats to you, Wood Creek. My week started actually on Thursday. I went out to Citrus Heights where Mesa Verde was playing Forest Hill. Forest Hill came into this game, looking for their first win. They played a tough Amador team at home opening night. And Mesa Verde, this was their season opener and one of their last two games at their stadium or at the San Juan Stadium that they share, because Mesa Verde is getting their own football stadium with turf, all new lighting, all that stuff, and that's set to open in about, I think, 2 or 3 weeks.
Oh.
So Mesa Verde came out in this one, and it was a very interesting game. So Forest Hill marched down the field and got a turnover, or turned it over on downs, I believe, inside the 15-yard line. Then Mesa Verde comes back, and Fred Robinson scores on a 34-yard touchdown run. And it just looked like, okay, this is a game that's just going to kind of be blown wide open. Then Forest Hill just flipped the switch. Ben Mercado found Brendan Navarro on a 33-yard touchdown pass. It was actually a fake punt because Mercado was their punter as well as quarterback. And he beats the defender, ends up going in. All of a sudden, Forest Hill is trailing by 1 because they didn't get the 2-point conversion. Then Mercado with a 15-yard run. Then Matt Nance with a 2-yard run. All of a sudden, Forest Hill's leading 18-7 going into halftime. And Mesa Verde looked like they had no idea what to do. But Mesa Verde all of a sudden comes out. Second play from scrimmage in the second half, Fred Robinson with a 61-yard touchdown run. But the kick was blocked. And then Forest Hill fumbled the ensuing kickoff return. And Jake Miller ran for a 13-yard touchdown run for the Mavericks. So all of a sudden, after all that, Mesa Verde is up 20-18 before Forest Hill even ran a snap in the second half. So that's not an ideal way to start it. Forest Hill kind of calmed down a little bit, but at that point, Mesa Verde just really turned on its offense. Ryan Jorgensen had a 1-yard touchdown run. Then Fred Robinson with his third touchdown run of the night, 28 yards. That kind of put it away. Forest Hill did battle back. They got one touchdown run late, or a touchdown pass late. Navarro from Mercado again. but it was just too late. Mesa Verde hung on to win 33-24. A funny story in this one, couple funny stories. First things first, Ben Mercado ripped his jersey in the second quarter right before he went on that tear where Forest Hill scored 18 straight points. And he put on, an extra jersey they had, which was number 34 jersey. Well, 34 on the roster is listed as a freshman by the name of Wyatt Laird. And all of a sudden, I was on Mesa Verde's side of the field when this happened, so I didn't see the jersey swap or anything happen. So I'm just watching this 34 guy just carve up Mesa Verde's defense, and I'm like, where did they get this kid? And I'm watching, I'm looking at the thing, and I'm like, this is a freshman. What is going on? Forest Hill needs to hang on to this kid. Where did this kid come from? And then I get to the sideline, and I see Forest Hill's AD Jeff Walters, who used to be the Del Oro coach. And I talked to him, and I'm like, so is Mercado hurt? Like, what's going on? He goes, oh, no, that's Ben out there. He just has a different jersey on because he tore his jersey. And I'm like, okay. So I thought Forest Hill had some, just total gem in this freshman. And then also, this just had to be, I have to say, this had to be the weirdest football game I've ever watched. There were multiple times, actually, where the chain gang was warned by the referees to stop coaching Mesa Verde's players during the game, which is something I've never seen. Let's see, I'm trying to think. Oh, the sprinklers came on in the end zone during the game, and I think they ran a play or two before it got stopped. Just little things like that. But, it was a good game. Mesa Verde, hats off to you guys. They turned it on the second half, and they won it, so big win for them. And then Friday night, I was at another game, a game that kind of surprised me, and that was Roseville and Placer. And, I owed my formal apology to Wood Creek. I believe I also owe a formal apology to Roseville because I thought Placer was going to come in this one and, take it pretty, I don't want to say handily, but I thought it would be one of those close games that Placer pulls away from at the end, and that was not the case. In fact, it was kind of the opposite. First play from scrimmage, Joel Bradley had a 78-yard touchdown reception for Roseville, which really just, turned it on. Then Placer goes down. They get into the red zone, turnover on downs, and then all of a sudden, Roseville, once again, another touchdown for them. And all of a sudden, it's 14-0 before Placer even knows what hit him. Placer did settle into things a little bit. Baylor Kelly had a couple touchdowns. All of a sudden, it's 14-13. Hillman punched one in right before halftime, actually. And then while they had Roseville on the ropes, which I go back and forth with if I agree with this decision or not, but basically Placer goes down, scores 2 unanswered touchdown, and Roseville looks gassed. I think out of 12 minutes in the second quarter, I want to say Roseville's defense was on the field for 10 of them. So, that's not ideal. Placer punches one in with 30 seconds left in the half, or not even 30. I think it was 11 seconds left. 14-13 game now. Placer decides to run a fake PAT. Now, I totally get the decision because you had Roseville completely on the ropes. I believe Roseville's field goal block team was their defense, so they're all gassed. And if you get that 2-point conversion, you're now going into halftime with a 1-point lead in half that you didn't particularly play great in. And I feel like that could have just been one of those things that's too much for Roseville to overcome. Instead, the fake PAT doesn't work, and now all of a sudden you gave a whole new life to this Roseville defense. It's like, hey, we just played a rough second quarter, but we're still going into the half with the lead. And I think that just really changed the game and flipped it on its head. So it's one of those, I don't want to say I disagree with the decision to go for it because I totally get what the reward was.
Yeah.
But you got to be ready for that to come back and get you too, and that's what happened. Roseville ended up just turning it on in the third quarter. They end up going up 28-13, and then 7 minutes left in the game. Joel Bradley had a fake punt of his own. He took 39 yards to the end zone to extend Roseville's lead to 34-13. And everyone in the stadium thought this game's over. 3-score game, less than 8 minutes to play. I'm kind of sitting there going, okay, our backup's going to be getting in. What's going on? But Placer all of a sudden mounts a long touchdown drive. And then, as people familiar with Placer have seen a million times, their little pooch kick, they recovered it. And here's what's actually really funny. When Placer recovered this pooch kick, it was, I believe, Dash Tebbs that recovered the pooch kick. nobody was around, and all of a sudden he caught this kick in stride, and he just starts running, and he actually ran into the end zone. And in the back of my mind, I knew the rule that you can't advance a kick like that, but all of a sudden I was like, holy crap, Placer just scored and it's a 7-point game. But, they bring the ball back to like 35-yard line or whatever. It doesn't matter. Placer all of a sudden goes down, scores, and it's 34-27 with 3:47 to play. And I think everyone's sitting there like, what just happened? So Roseville goes 3 and out on the next possession, and now Placer, with just under 2 minutes left, no timeouts, has an opportunity to score, and they get the punt return. They actually return it back to about midfield, but it gets called back for a hold. I heard people complaining about the holding call. I was watching the returner, so I didn't see the hold. So, that is what it is. But either way, you can't have a costly penalty, and Placer had a few of those in this game. And the Tigers ended up holding on the comeback to win 34-27, so they're 2-0. Placer had an interesting situation before the game. They had to start a new quarterback, Ryan Miller, who's going to be the guy taking over. And Baylor Kelly had a good game, 137 yards, but Joel Miller just had an incredible game for the Tigers. He had, I believe, 2 touchdowns, both of them long ones and big ones. Aaron Salas had touchdown runs of 34 yards and 2 yards. He was a big playmaker for the Tigers. And all of a sudden, Roseville's sitting here at 2-0, and they're very legit. And I talked to, they're kind of in a similar boat as Wood Creek. I talked to Adam Ranking after the game, and he said, the culture here is great and everything, but he's like, people don't respect Roseville football because, they look at, I think they fall in that Wood Creek category. If they look at what Roseville football was for the last decade and not what they are now. And, I think they kind of like that underdog mentality though. But, with what I saw from Roseville and the teams they've beaten so far, and not necessarily the teams they beat, well, Placer for one, but Oakmont's not the strongest team in the world. But the fashion they beat them in, I could see Roseville and Wood Creek playing for the league title at the end of the season. These are 2 very good ball clubs. So, yeah, that's what I saw from that one. Then one last thing, one last game before I throw it back to you, Matt. Del Oro beat Reed of Reno 55-9. Reed entered a top 10 team in the state of Nevada, but Del Oro just pounded them, and this one wasn't particularly close. Caden Pennick had 5 touchdowns for Del Oro, including this one where he scrambled out of the pocket. I think he broke like 3 sacks, rolls out to his right, jumps and throws across his body and finds Robert Garcia in the back of the end zone, who reels it in, and he split 2 defenders and just threaded the needle with this pass. Someone said the high school Mahomes strikes again, and I think that was the best way to put it. Caden Pennick is just an unbelievable player. Game for them. Dio wins 55-9, and they got a fun one this week coming up, but we'll get on that later. Matt, back to you. What did you see with some of your other games?
Yeah, well, one thing I wanted to say about Ranking and Roseville, when I talk to Adam, he's very he doesn't come out and say we're good, like we're going to be good this year. Like he understates everything. So that's why I was kind of hesitant. Like I thought maybe I thought of picking them, actually to win that game as an upset. But then I thought, well, I don't know, like the coach, when I asked him about Placer, he's like, oh, Placer's so good. And, Joey Montana's the best wing T coach, and he's all Placer. I'm like, okay, well, I'll pick Placer. But, I just say, one of the reasons maybe why people aren't big on Roseville is because the hype's not there yet. Maybe after this win, they'll realize, I write my articles from what the coaches tell me. If the coach tells me, hey, we're great, we played great, that's how I write it. If the coach tells me, we didn't do so well, that's how I write it. So you know what I'm trying to say? Like he doesn't hype up his team. He's like,
no, I totally get it. And, it is one of those where, maybe that's kind of by design from him. Maybe he wants that underdog mentality with his team. So, we never really know. But I'll say this, no matter what Ranking says, I don't think you can sleep on this team now. You have a blowout win over Oakmont, and then you were blowing out Placer. And granted, if Placer didn't have that horrendous first 2 minutes of the game where you're down 14-0, like 9:45 left in the first quarter, it's probably a whole different ballgame. And once they settled in, it was very even. But the thing is, the game is 48 minutes long. It's not 46 minutes long. So you outplayed Placer for 48 minutes. And I think people are going to open up.
I sense maybe, and I haven't talked to him since the game, but when I talked to him again, I'm going to ask him. But I sense maybe this win surprised him. Maybe his team surprised himself.
Yeah, who knows? And I mean, but also you got to be careful to reel it in because you don't want to start believing your own hype. So
Right, right,
that's
right,
where it's going to be interesting.
right. All right, let's go to Ponderosa, where Vista Del Lago was visiting. This was a blowout from the get-go, 42-0. Vista won, not from the get-go. It was only 7-0 in the first quarter, but I think it was 28-0 at halftime. So Vista, very importantly for them, they got the run game going in this game. They only rushed for 36 yards against Manteca, and they in that week, well, 0 loss, I guess. I hate the week 0. I wish it would just call it week 1, but whatever. They had 283 rushing yards against Ponderosa, and I think this is vitally important to the Eagles' success this year. They have to be able to run the ball against good teams, or just because it makes them so much more harder to defend. I mean, that Manteca game was pass, 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 and that's a lot for any quarterback. And I just think if the Eagles can run the ball like they did against Ponderosa, for example, against Vanna this coming week, it's going to make it so much easier for them. So, anyway, they got the run game going. They only passed the ball like 12 or 13 times in the whole game. So, and then their run game, Xavier Bryan, it was a breakout game for him, 162 yards rushing on 23 carries or 27 carries. And I think he had 3 touchdowns. So good game by him. And, we'll see how this translates this week. But if they can get that running game going against Vannon, look out. Valley Christian winners for the first time. They beat Millennium 49-0. This is a game that was over before it started. It was 27-0 in the first quarter. Chase Clary had a big game for Valley Christian with 7 catches for 141 yards and 2 touchdowns. Jeremiah Pritchard only caught 3 passes, but all 3 were touchdowns. And quarterback Thomas Rominger completed 12 of 18 passes for 167 yards and 5 touchdowns. So he completed 12 passes, 5 for touchdowns. And, they had the passing game going in that game. So Valley Christian gets a W. And then Folsom, they went on the road to play Sarah. And this is the game I watched in NFHS. And gosh dang, I was really excited to watch this, and I was hoping Folsom would win it. I thought they could win it. And they just came out and played like I can't sugarcoat it. It was absolutely the worst first quarter I've seen them play in ever, I think. They were down 21-0 at the end of the first quarter. The offense could not move the ball to save their life. The defense, they're down 21-0. They gave 21 points. So, the first touchdown was on a fake, a trick play. Quarterback threw the ball to receiver threw it to another receiver. So, they got Folsom there. And then 2 possessions later, they threw another 60-yard touchdown pass. So 2 long touchdown passes. And then at the end of the first quarter, they drove the ball down and scored right before the end of the quarter, 21-0. And then the second quarter, while they didn't score, Folsom's offense didn't look particularly better. And it was 21-0 at halftime. And I was just bumming because I know, I felt bad for Coach Daugherty because I know how much time he put into this game. And after the game, when I talked to him on Sunday, I said, are you all right? I was just kind of joking with him, and I was like, are you all right? Because I know I could hear the disappointment in his voice. And he's just like, man, it's a year's worth of work, They they plan all year for this game. Just kind of like the Del Sal games. They didn't do it. But anyway, long story short, Folsom looked better in the second half. They played better in the second half. Walker Lyons, it was like 2 different quarterbacks. He completed 4 passes in the first half, 4 out of 11. In the second half, he was 13 out of 16. So, and he had time to throw. The offensive line got used to the speed of the pass rush. And Folsom didn't score in the third quarter, but they did score 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. One on a pass to Damian Rivera down the middle of the field. And then Ryder Lyons scored on a touchdown run on the next possession to cut the lead to 21-14. And, if Folsom recovers an onside kick, which isn't easy, but if they do, they have a shot to win it. So I mean, yes, it was a nice comeback. They played hard, but in the end, it was a loss, and it was a bitter loss. I mean, like I said, Doherty was not happy, and I'm sure the team wasn't happy. But they'll live to see another day. It's only one game, and let's face it, they lost to probably the best team in Northern California. So, but the difference is they want to be the best team in Northern California, not Sarah. But anyway, so that's that. Back to you, Jordan.
Yeah, I will say on that Folsom Sarah game too, what makes it tough is that game is essentially the NorCal Open Division Championship, and you win that game,
Yeah.
you take care of business the rest of the year, you get a fast track to a state championship game where, granted, you're going to get a date with either John Bosco or Mater Dei, and it's probably not going to go well. But whereas you lose that game, and now all of a sudden you have to presumably go through either De La Salle or St. Francis or Pittsburgh or whoever else now for that D1 NorCal title. So in a way, that adds an extra game onto your schedule because you didn't win that game. So that it is tough, and you don't want to make those presumptions in August. But we've seen time and time again that Folsom Sarah game or the Folsom De La Salle game ends up mattering as to who gets that state bid. So it is a big deal, and it's a tough one to lose for sure.
And one other thing is that was Sarah's first game of the season. For them to play, I mean, they won the game. They didn't play that well after the first quarter, but I mean, they're a good team to come out and put 21 points on Folsom's defense, which is a good defense. And Coach Doherty was happy with the defense on the defense play. They got us with a trick play. Yeah, they got us with a 60-yard touchdown pass to a 6'6" tight end down the middle of the field. But aside from that, I mean, we gave them nothing. So I mean, it was
Yeah, definitely. So I got a few more to wrap up with. And then before we go on to this week too, I want to talk about some other sports as well. But as far as football goes, Rockland went over to Reno to play McQueen, and they took care of business 42-0 there. Derek Keeley had a good game, 53 yards on 7 carries and a touchdown. He also had 6 tackles and interception. He had a reroute that led to another interception. He forced a fumble. Dude was just all over the place. Good game for him. Rafi Marino, Jr. there had 94 yards on 7 carries, 2 touchdowns for the Thunder, including a 66-yarder. So a big game for him there. Connor Bow, is it Bow or Bow? I don't know, but he had 1 reception for 48 yards, which is a pretty good average right there if you're averaging going half the field on your passes. Rockland just, I mean, to be frank, kind of dominated this one. And, now through 2 games, they've allowed 3 points against 2 pretty solid opponents. So that's going to be a team to look out for. That defense is no joke. And if you remember, Matt, that was a team that I think shut out Folsom in the first half last year and ended up holding them to 14 points. I think it was 14-7 in a game that if Rockland had won, they would have shared the SFL title with Folsom. So I think this is a team that I knew they were going to be good, but I feel like this is a team that I don't want to say they're flying under the radar because I think all rankings have them in the top 5 in the section, but when the 4 teams in front of them are all in the same league, they are flying under the radar a little bit. And I think, Rockland is a team that could absolutely make a run for a section title. And, their results in that defense, sky's the limit with this team. So they're one to keep an eye on. Lincoln, they had a rough one on Saturday against Rio Linda. They're now in 0-2 hole after leading 6-0 after the first quarter. Rio Linda scored 23 unanswered points, 22 unanswered points. My math is wrong. And Lincoln they're in some trouble now, 0-2 with losses to River City and Rio Linda. And that schedule does not get any easier anytime soon. I mean, they've got Casa Roble this week, then Roseville, Wood Creek, Nevada Union, and Placer. That could be a rough start for the Zebras. So, tough one. Well, Max Prep is giving me an ad, so that's that's that right there. But yeah, Lincoln's in a tough boat right now. So, we'll see if they can turn it around, but it's not going to be an easy road. And then a couple other ones I want to hit on real quick too. 12 Bridges rolled through Pioneer. Coach Chris Bean told me before the game this is going to be a big test for them because Pioneer just absolutely out-physicaled them last year and kind of just beat them up. And he said it was a sign of what was to come when 12 Bridges played against the Sutters and the Colfaxes and, those teams that really just beat up 12 Bridges in the trenches. So he's like, this Pioneer game, even though they lost a lot, they're still big, they're still physical. That was going to be their big test of where they stood, and they passed that test with flying colors. 43-6 win. Nate Crawford had 156 yards and I believe 2 touchdowns in that one. Senior receiver Braden Wooster had a cool story. He missed the entire 2022 season due to an injury. And they were really excited about him, but didn't get to see much from him. They saw a lot from him on Friday night. 5 receptions, 114 yards, and 2 touchdowns, who really helped blow the game wide open. Nate Schering and Chase, I'm going to butcher this. The last name is spelled Wyhlidko. I believe that's Waldico or Walidco. I don't even know how to start that one, but they both had 6 and 5 tackles respectively. Whit Cruz passed for over 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Big win for 12 Bridges. They looked really good. And then the one last football game I want to touch on, saving possibly the best performance for last, Colfax. Colfax ends up with 7 interceptions, tying a school record that stood for 56 years. They actually had that against Lincoln back in, 56 years. I want to say 1967. So, but yeah, 56-year school record, 7 interceptions for the Falcons. They beat Woodland Christian 49-6. 2 of their interceptions were pick sixes. So not only did Colfax have more interceptions than points allowed, their defense outscored Woodland's offense. So you're going to have a good night when you do that. Austin Lyden, Josiah Rubidoux each had 2 interceptions. Rubidoux had one of the pick sixes. And then Cody Tonini, Jackson Massett, and Braden Howard each nabbed an interception, with Howard returning his for a touchdown. Malachi Thompson had a pretty solid night on the ground again. 3 touchdowns, 126 yards on 12 attempts. Dylan Guadino had 1 carry in the night, and he went 94 yards for a touchdown in that. So pretty impressive there. Now Colfax is going down to Galt on Friday night. Galt's 2-0 coming in this one, but haven't really played anyone tough. Colfax won the previous 2 matchups. They beat the Warriors 34-6 in 2021, 54-13 last year at home, and that was a game where kind of tempers flared, but I don't think we're going to see any of those issues again. I asked Stowers about it, like, hey, there were a lot of tempers flaring in that last one. I think Galt had 100-something yards of unsportsmanlike conduct penalties in the second half alone. Coach got ejected. They almost just called the game because it looked like Galt was headhunting towards the end of it. Then, Stowers said, we're not worried about that stuff. We're disciplined. We take care of ourselves, and we let everything else unfold. So Colfax is a team that I think is going to have a pretty fun couple weeks coming up. They look very good right now. Matt, that's going to do it for my football. Over to you. What other football did you see, or what other sports did you see?
Yeah, I got 2 more here. Granite Bay went down to Manteca to face Manteca in a rematch of the D2 title game last year. And, Granite Bay had a tough one. Manteca's defense is tough. They shut out Granite Bay. They shut them out, beat them 15-0. Granite Bay, they didn't even run the ball well. Carter Jackson, I don't remember his stats, but they weren't, I think he had less than 50 yards rushing. And Isaiah Ennie had a little bit more than that, but, they just couldn't get anything going. Coach Catalico said they had some chances in the first half, but they got down to the invisible wall at the 30-yard line, and they just stopped it there. They didn't score. And he told me, you're sitting there at halftime, you're thinking, when you have opportunities against good teams, you got to capitalize on it. We didn't capitalize, so we were kind of thinking we were in trouble there at halftime, and it turns out they were. Although it was 0-0 game, but, Manteca scored a touchdown in the third quarter, touchdown in the fourth quarter, won the game 15-0. So, and things don't get any easier for Granite Bay as they got Pittsburgh coming to town. So, but that's the schedule that Catalico wanted, and he knew it, and challenge his team. So that was my last game is Oakmont losing to Foothill 20-13. Oakmont, I feel for this team because I get the sense that Jake Messina is a good guy, and he's always so positive. And they only lost by a touchdown, so it was a close game. The touchdowns go to Kendall. I can't for cannot a touchdown and Quinn Durant. But anyway, he said, they're just not very athletic. The football is more athletic, had more athletes than they did, and he said they made a couple mistakes again in the secondary, where Foothill receivers are just they made plays on the ball that Oakland DBs weren't capable of making, and same thing on special teams. He said made two critical mistakes on special teams that hurt us. He said he left 2 or 3 touchdowns out in the field. So it's a game that if they could have played well, they would have won it, but they're just not there yet. But you know what? I'm staying behind this my team. They're going to win some games this year. They're gonna be all right.
All right, I like it. Moving on to a few other sports. I got a lot of volleyball this week. It started with, we'll actually say, another historical team or another historic game up in Auburn. Forest Hill and Forest Lake Christian have met 35 times coming into Tuesday's meeting, and Forest Lake Christian won 35 times. So since 2005, and during that time, the Wildfires had claimed just 7 sets in total against them. But that changed Tuesday night. Forest Hill beat Forest Lake Christian for the first time in school history, 3-2. They dropped the first set 25-20 and then stormed out to a 2-1 lead, taking sets 2 and 3, 25-18, 25-17. Falcons won set 4, 25-23, and then the Wildfires won the decisive 5th set, 15-10. That's against a team that went to the NorCal title and was 2 points away, actually 1 point away from winning it at one point last year. So, a big win for the Wildfires. Showed that they have no quit in them, and now that got off to a winning start for the season. Addie Aldrich has had 10 digs, 8 assists, and 5 kills. And then serving was one of the strengths. Dalen Francia, Ella Cowan, and Lauren Mercado combined for 14 aces for the Wildfires, so that was big for them. Bear Rivers off to an undefeated start. They're 6-0 through the first week of play, so shout out to them. They've been led by sophomore Eden Shaw, who has 54 kills so far. And then the last 2 volleyball ones I want to hit on are first is 12 Bridges volleyball. They played Lincoln on Monday night, and this was an interesting one. So second meeting ever between 2 schools. This gym was packed. I mean, it felt like a Friday night league championship high school basketball game in there. It was great environment. A season ago, Lincoln beat 12 Bridges 3-0 in the first meeting ever, and it wasn't really close. And that loss stuck with the Raging Rhinos. And they went out and they beat Lincoln 3-1 on Monday night. So another first for them. Granted, it wasn't 35 meetings, but big win for them. And it was kind of it was a milestone thing because Lincoln's a 2-time defending FBL champion. They've gone to state tournament the last 2 years. And I think this is kind of a win for 12 Bridges. It really kind of helped solidify, like, hey, this is who we are. We are a good team. I know the PVL is going to be tough with Sutter and Bear River, and Colfax as well. But 12 Bridges is right there in that mix. So shout out to them. Big win on that. And then one last volleyball one I want to shout out is Rockland High School girls volleyball. They are actually, as we speak, they are in the air going to Hawaii right now to play in the Labor Day Classic in Hilo, Hawaii, or Hilo, I believe it is. But here's what's cool about them. One, not only are they off to a 6-1 start with their 6 leaders in kills all being sophomores, which is impressive enough as it is. But they have raised nearly $5,000 for the Maui wildfire victims. And they're actually going to be giving that money to the athletic director at Lahaina Luna High School, where, they can kind of use it. It's going to be in gift cards, stuff like that, Visa gift cards, just to kind of help them out, which I think is, a really cool thing that they're going to this tournament. They try to do these overnight trips every year, but Coach Dave Muscarella said the girls actually approached him wanting to do this fundraiser for them. And in less than a week, they've raised $5,000. The fundraiser actually is still going through Friday. And they said that, if you want to donate, you can drop off gift cards to the school's front office. They recommend in increments $25, but they'll take any donation. So shout out to Rockland girls volleyball for that. That's awesome. You guys are off to a good start, and, you're doing good things out in the community. So Matt, over to you. What did you see from some of the other sports?
Did you say that there's 6 leading kills or sophomores?
Yep, 6 leading kills are all sophomores. Now,
Wow.
I will say they're not really they're sophomores by class, but they all played varsity volleyball as freshmen.
Yeah.
So experience wise, they're definitely not sophomores, but still, that's gonna make you feel good when
Yeah.
your leaders in kills, most of them probably can't even drive a car yet.
And then I want to ask you about the Forest Hill game. Did they were you at the game or no?
I was not at the game. No, I
Oh,
was Tuesday night. I was covering something, but I can't remember what it was.
I just wondered. I just wondered if they knew it was 35. There was 35-0. Like they had
They knew it
one.
was the first win against them in school history. I don't know if they knew it was 35 and
And I
0.
wonder if there was like a big celebration or just if or not.
Definitely, there definitely was in Forest
Okay.
Hills girls vol or just their girls athletics because they beat Forest Lake Christian, I believe, for the first time in girls basketball this year, and I think they actually won that league for the first time. They went to the section title for the first time. The girls athletics at Forest Hill, they have a great class coming through. They won their first ever team athletics championship for girls soccer this last year. Cross country is always good. This volleyball team is very good. The flag
Yeah.
football team got off to a good start. Their first ever touchdown was a pick six.
Hey.
So pretty awesome start for them. But Forest
Yeah.
Hill for girls athletics especially is going to have a fun couple years ahead of them.
Cool. Well, I just got some flag football information. Folsom and Vista played their first flag football games last week, so both lost, but both coaches were upbeat, happy. I mean, it's only the first game ever. Vista Lago lost 14-0 to Granite Bay. Congrats to Granite Bay, who, yeah, so they lost to Granite Bay. The Vista coach Vince Isbell was, he was happy. He goes, it was our first game. We made a couple of mistakes here and there, and we learned where we need to go with the ball on offense. We need to try to show, this is made me kind of laugh with the 2 games I went to last week. Girls don't have the strongest arms. I'm not trying to belittle them, but they don't have the strongest arms. And there's every play is like a 20 to 30 yard pass downfield. I'm thinking, why don't they try these shorter passes? Because they're easier to complete. They don't throw it as far. But every play, these girls they're going for a touchdown on every play, which I love to watch. I mean, it's fun to watch, but how often are they completed? Not often. So anyway, Vince Isbell said, "Hey, we need to throw shorter passes." And defensively, we need to get the girls in positions where they don't have to think so much and they can just react to the ball. So, Delia Azola, I'm gonna go for that one. She had an interception for the Eagles, and Macy Spotto led the team with 7 tackles. Gabriella Azar had 5 tackles. Bella Hess completed 7 passes for 78 yards. Amanda Nasworth gained 18 yards on 3 carries, and Macy Spotto caught 4 passes for 49 yards. So that was Vista. Folsom lost 26-0 to Foothill, to Del Campo. I'm sorry. Del Campo was 3-0 at that point after the win. And there was a third game with Folsom's going to be first game, but I didn't think Folsom played that badly. I mean, Del Campo had a 6-0 lead and scored a touchdown, and then had a pick six right before the half to make it. I mean, 6-0 to 19-0 right at halftime. So that kind of happened really quick, and then they only scored one more time in the second half. So I didn't think Folsom played that badly, but got a good quarterback in Bella Brown. They had one good drive where they completed. I think Brown completed 4 out of 5 passes in a row. 3 consecutive passes, 2 to Molly Fremont and another to Kira Lacombe. And then Del Campo was penalized for pass interference, and then she completed another pass to Kinga Major before the drive stalled, and then had a pair of incompletions followed by an interception. But Folsom coach Bobby Trujillo, he said it's a learning experience for the girls. He's happy with where they're at, and working through the kinks, and we just have to execute. So anyway, 2 good performances by the girls. I have one other thing. Empire Ranch, we get this sent to us. Empire Ranch Men's Golf Club recently crowned Folsom's Sean Campbell as the club's match play champion of 2023. He beat out 127 other players to win that. So congrats to Sean Campbell.
Yeah, that's awesome. Definitely. Yeah, on flag football's front, I've only got a few for you. I know Dio got its first SFL win. They beat Folsom 24-6 the other day. And then Wood Creek actually beat Colfax on the road on, I believe it was Monday. Colfax was leading at half. I want to say 13-7. Wood Creek came back to win 21-20. So, shout out to them. Wood Creek.
Hey,
Yeah.
Wood Creek won a tournament on Saturday too.
Yeah, I think they won Del Oro's tournament, the
Yep.
Larry Wyatt Memorial Tournament, because I think it was Wood Creek Granite Bay in the final. I want to say Dio got third. I think Rockland got fourth or fifth. A lot of local schools, but hey, I think from what I understand, at least on the throwing the deep ball thing, I think a big part of it is because you can't have blockers. I think you have to try to find some creative ways to move the ball down the field a little bit because, it's tough to get someone with the ball in open space when you can't have blockers leading the way like you would on a slant or a screen pass or something like that. So I think, leaves your option to kind of stretch it out a little bit. But I am interested to see because, in the scrimmages I saw, there weren't a lot of deep balls completed. So I'm interested to see how coaches maybe adjust to that. They start seeing like, okay, this isn't working, but maybe, the way we draw up some routes, we can have a lot of defenders on one side of the ball. And if this girl can win a one-on-one matchup, then it can change things. But it's going to be interesting to see how the playbook kind of evolves with this as we start more games played and start learning more. But what I love about this, Matt, is you see so many small schools competing with bigger schools that you would not like. Del Campo would never go up against Folsom in pretty much any sport, but flag football, it's an even playing field, and I kind of love that.
I do know that is neat to see. That is neat to see. And Del Campo and Granite Bay, I will say, they had some cool plays. Like I don't know, I can't. It's going to be hard to explain, but they had some cool running plays. I think where they faked it. They faked the girl running to the left, and the quarterback pivoted, 180 degrees, and then handed off to another girl. Like they had some cool running plays where they faked one way and went the other way. I didn't see Folsom or Vista have any plays like that, but that helped open up some space for some girls to run anyway. But anyway.
Yeah, definitely. And also, I feel like there's what it almost reminds me of without the contact is it reminds me of arena football in a way. Like the way they it's a lot faster paced, it feels like. But no, I am excited to see where it's going to turn to.
Well, one thing I've said is like now I mean now they're not playing really good football right now, but they will by the end of the season. That's where the games are going to be fun in October, late October.
Definitely. So kind of moving on to wrap things up with this Friday night, we've got another pretty solid slate of football coming up. Matt, let's start with you. Where are you going to be Friday night, and what are you looking forward to about this game?
Hey, before I do that, let me just give you my athlete of the week. Jason Womack, Oak Ridge sophomore running back. When Coach Taylor, when he first started talking to me about him, he said he's going to be basically a receiver out of the backfield. Well, through 2 games, he's done more than that. He's their leading rusher with 240 yards in 2 games. So he's become a weapon. He's only caught 2 passes too, and I'm sure those numbers are going to go up. But he's still a good pass catcher. But he's their leading rusher through 2 games, and he even threw a touchdown pass against Grant. So Jason Womack is my athlete of the week.
All right.
Where am I going to be this week?
To mine then. I talked about it earlier, but Addie Aldridge, 10 digs, 8 assists, 5 kills against Forest Lake Christian. If you lead your team to a historic victory like that, you get the nod for athlete of the week. And she's been a huge part of some of these historic victories for Forest Hill. She was part of the first ever team championship at the school with the soccer title, helped lead the basketball team to their first section championship appearance. So, Addie Aldrich, you get my athlete of the week nod.
Yeah. I will be at Vista Lago for the second time in 3 weeks, and I will not see them again until their last game of the regular season. So don't panic, fans. I'm going to be out and about. But, Vista Lago Vannon, it's a team that I think Vannon, I mean, I don't know if they're 1-1 or 2-0, but they're not beating teams the way they've only played 2 games, but they're a step down from where we were last year, and it's a game where Vista wants to win. I think they can win. I think they will win, but they have to be able to run the ball to do it.
All right, and for me, I'm going to be hitting the team twice in a row, which I normally do not do, but you'll know why when I talk about this game. It is probably highest anticipated rivalry game of the week. Del Oro and Placer. This used to be, I mean, the bee's knees. This used to be the biggest rivalry game in the area. These
When's the
two
last time they played?
last time they played 2011. I was a sophomore in high school. Fun fact about that, actually, Eddie Vanderdoes, the 5-star recruit, was on that Placer team.
Okay.
Placer went up 9-0 in the first quarter. It was the Division III quarterfinals. Placer went up 9-0 in the first quarter. Del Oro stormed back in the second and ended up winning that one 41-13. I believe last time Placer beat Del Oro, I want to say it was 2001. The last regular season meeting between these two was when they were both in the SFL in 2005.
2005. Huh?
I mean, this used to be an awesome rivalry. This place is going to be packed. Get this, Placer already doesn't have the best parking if you've ever been there. They're expecting so many people. They actually are telling people to park at Overlook Park up, which is about probably a mile from the high school. They're shuttling. They have a shuttle that's going to be running and shuttling fans to the stadium. That's how packed they expect this thing to be. I mean, Auburn has wanted this for a long, long time. I think a lot of the old school people at Del Oro have wanted this for a long, long.
What do I took them 20 years to play again? 18 years.
I think a lot of it was when Del Oro's football program kind of took off. Placer got left to the wayside, and it's kind of funny because in every rivalry there's a big brother and a little brother, and you'd normally expect the big brother in this situation to be the school that has been around since 1897, not the school that's 50 years younger.
Yeah.
But I would argue that Placer's kind of the little brother in this situation, but I think it's mostly because of what Del Oro football has become, and Del Oro is the bigger school. I think it's going to be a tough order for Placer. Ryan Miller is going to be starting his second game at quarterback. It's a young offensive line. This Placer team is 0-2, and I think it's a very tricky 0-2 because if they fix some mistakes, they could be 2-0 going into this season now. Placer's a very, very, very good team. I just don't know if they have what it takes to beat Dio in this one. But either way, I'm super excited about it. It's an awesome rivalry. It's going to be a great environment. Both communities are buzzing about this game. I believe they have it planned as a home and home, even with realignment next year. So it should be at Loomis next year. But I really hope we see this become an annual rivalry.
Yeah.
And who knows? Maybe we will. But I'm excited to see how Placer's young line adjusts. Placer definitely does, play up to their competition. They are good enough that if Dio comes in taking them lightly, Placer can punch him in the mouth a little bit. But
well, let's go back a year ago. What if these two teams met? Placer probably the favorite, right?
I would still give the nod to Dio, but I think it would be a very close game. Yeah. I would say this: if they met a year ago, I would give the nod to whoever was hosting the game. So, I mean, it's a tough one, but I got to go with Dio just because they have the best player on the field. But Placer can put up some plays, and I expect there to be some fireworks in this one. Yeah. I'm stoked for it, and it's going to be a great environment. Both times that they host it, so I plan to get there. I don't know, maybe I'll just attend seventh period at school. If any teacher wants to let me sit in on their class,
are you going to take the shuttle? Yeah, you're going to take the shuttle.
I'm not shuttling to the game. I'll park at the office and walk across the street if I have to. Walk the quarter mile or whatever it is, but. No, it's going to be an awesome game, and I'm really excited for it. I think it's going to be one of the best environments you'll find on a Friday night.
It sounds like it.
A couple other notable ones in the area. I know we got, I believe, Bill's attending Colfax and Galt. Granite Bay Pittsburgh will be a fun game. Rockland Buchanan. So we've got a good little slate coming up this Friday night. Maybe not as loaded as it was those first 2 weeks. But there's still some very good games and some teams testing themselves.
And you don't know where Jim's going to be?
I don't know yet. He hasn't responded to my text, but stay tuned. It will likely be Rockland or Granite Bay or maybe Oakmont. Who knows? Maybe a little Thursday night action. We'll see. But, that's going to do it for what I've got this coming week. Oh, we got to talk about our prediction records. Bill went 7-3. So he's 17-3 overall. Pretty sure he's cheating, so we just won't even talk about that. Matt, I think it's
4-6.
I think it's best to say we just got to crumple up last week. We both had rough weeks. I think I went 4-6 as well, or maybe even 3-7. I did not do well. So We're just going to pretend last week never happened. I issued my apologies to Wood Creek and Roseville fans. And, it's a new week. It's a new slate. I'm not going to sleep on some of these teams anymore, and we're going to do better.
That's right.
All right, but that's going to do it for this week's episode of the Jordan and Matt Show. I've been Jordan.
I'm Matt.
We will see you next time.